Everybody, and welcome to our flipped classroom flex that is being offered on December 1st at 7 o'clock a.m. in my room. Usually this is how I would do the videos. Sometimes I do them this way. A lot of times for my Chemistry 2 students, I'll have the PowerPoints up on the screen, and I usually put my little picture in the corner. Although I'm not too impressed with how the quality of that looks because my ring light is at home. Yes, I did go out and buy a ring light. So I look a little bit better in these videos that are being used from year to year and are posted on YouTube. But sometimes I don't put myself in the bottom hand corner, and with my AP students in particular, I just project the notes up on the screen, and I have a little writing pad that I would write on there and do the notes with them. But anyway, I'm so excited that you are going to learn a little bit about the flipped classroom with me. I became very passionate about this a couple of years ago. I wanted to do it for a while, and then I just never did because it takes a lot of work to do this. And COVID happened, and I was like, you know what? This is really the perfect time to start to implement this flipped classroom because students were at home, right? So, and if students were at home, this was the best way for me to deliver instruction to them. So this is kind of how it started, still perfecting the technique. And I hope you learned something new from this. So let's get into first, what is a flipped classroom? Some of you guys might have no idea what a flipped classroom is, and that's okay. So that's why we're here, to learn about what it is. Traditionally, right, so what students will do is students will be in direct instruction at school, so that you teach to the students directly via giving notes or doing lecture or however it may be. Students might be doing worksheets in class, but typically it's a sort of direct instruction to the students, and then the students go home and the students complete the assignments at home. As a chemistry teacher, I started to grow frustrated with this technique because I would do direct instruction in class, and my students would go home and come back the next day and say, I had no idea how to do this. I had no idea what I was doing. And it really aggravated me because I was like, I know we did it in class that day. What do you mean you know nothing, right? So that was kind of like a catalyst for me to want to even start this flipped classroom in the first place, because I was tired of hearing that excuse. I didn't know what I was doing. I feel like science and math teachers might hear that the most from their students. So to alleviate that, I don't know what I'm doing at home. Now, the flipped classroom, the students do in class, and then the students get the lecture at home. So in a flipped classroom model, students tend to be engaged with the material in class. And we're going to talk about in the actual flex, what are some ways that we can engage students with these different content areas in class? What are some things that we could do to get the students more invested in our material in class, rather than having them sit blindly and just listen to us? Because we all know, if we're listening to a lecture for an hour and a half, we tend to zone off every now and then. So what are some ways that we can engage these students and get them to learn our material on a much deeper level? And just like you're doing right now, students will be introduced to that particular content, that subject, via a video like this. So that's why I am sending you this particular video now, is so you become familiar with a flipped classroom. And then we have more time to do more engaging activities in our time together when we meet on December 1st. And that's essentially all it is. Rather than doing the direct instruction in class and doing homework at home, students are being engaged with the content in class and getting the lectures at home. So on that note, our agenda for when we are meeting on December 1st. First, we're going to do a brief overview of the flipped classroom for those who didn't watch the video. So a concern that some teachers will have is, well, my students don't watch the video, right? Well, if you are implementing a flipped classroom, I tend to take that into consideration because I know that not all of my students are watching the videos, right? And I also know who watches them and who doesn't based on how they perform in class. And then it all comes back on them. Well, did you watch the video? No. Well, whose fault is that, right? So we'll do a little brief overview, not as intense as what I just explained to you, but just a very brief introduction to what a flipped classroom is, just so everybody's on the same page. Although those of you that are watching this video will be a little bit more familiar because you did what you were asked to do. Then we'll do a think, pair, share. So what are some of your questions about this flipped classroom approach, or what are some of your concerns? Because I'm positive we're going to have questions and concerns on both ends, and I want to make sure that we talk about those together. Then I just wanted to share my Schoology page with you and my YouTube channel, and I also want to just outline what I expect my students to do. I think that would be nice to hear kind of like what a typical class looks like, what a typical lesson would look like, just so you see what I do. Then I'm excited for this one because I want to hear what are some ways that you can think of that we can engage our students when we're not lecturing. So it's different at first to think like, wow, okay, I have all this extra time now because my kids are learning at home and we have more time to do actual real applications in school. So what are some things we could do to get our students more engaged since we're not lecturing in lieu of that? Then I wanted to have a group discussion about what are some obstacles that we may encounter. I could think of a couple off the top of my head. I'm not going to tell you them right now, but just have a discussion. You know, what are some ways that we can overcome these obstacles? If you like this idea of how to teach your classroom, how might you start doing that? Just a general group discussion on the flipped classroom. Then some of my students are quite passionate about this particular way of learning. They really enjoy it as long as I can get some of them to come. Some volunteers from my classes are going to come and share their thoughts to you and why they would like some of their other teachers to use this approach. So hopefully we can get them to come in. And you can't see this last part here, so I'll move my little thing right there. I have an exit form because I like to, we like to, as teachers, kind of culminate everything at the end. This is not necessarily for me, but I would like to pass this on to administration and maybe any other teacher for you to do something like this, because I think some of the best talent that we have is right here in this building, and I'd love to hear other teaching techniques that you guys are doing. So I have a little exit form that we'll do. It'll take a minute or two. What are some other flex opportunities that you'd like to see? Maybe what are some other teachers doing that they're really good at that you would like to get really good at? I think that would be nice to kind of compile that information and to pass that along in case any other teacher would like to run a flex in the future. On that note, I will see you very soon on December 1st at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm sorry it's in the morning, but I have to pick up my daughter after school. So it's bright and early, 7 o'clock a.m. In the chemistry lab, room 229. So I'm very excited to run this flex, and I hope you guys come with lots of ideas, and I will see you then. Bye.